Call to order the Bryant Planning Commission meeting in November 14th, 2024, and we will have a roll call.
Staton.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Burgess.
Present.
Benfield.
Here.
Newton. Here. Edwards. Here. Irwin.
Here.
Speed.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. I have no announcements. Mr. Taylor, do you have any announcements tonight?
Thank y'all for being here. I know I'm over here on this side. I pay this as homage to Colton. I'm not quite worthy to stay in his seat. but that's it. So thank you. We can continue.
Yeah. And thank the commission, council members, for letting us move it from a Monday to a Thursday. I thought it was for deer season, but it's really for veterans. So.
You wish.
Yeah. DRC report. Andrea?
All right. 104 Rich Street, conditional use permit, accessory structure. Stephen Wise requesting approval for a conditional use permit for accessory structure that exceeds 25% square feet of the primary structure. Recommended approval. Bryant Seminary, Highway 5 site plan. PLE requesting site plan approval. Recommended approval on that. Glen Hills Estate, replat of Lot 6. Hope Consulting requesting approval for the replat. That was recommended for approval. Midtown Phase 3, final plat. Hope Consulting requesting plat approval. That was approved. Recommended approval. Cornerstone Montessori Christian Academy at 4910 Spring Hill Road, seeking a waiver. Hope Consulting requesting approval for a waiver on a half-street improvement until a permanent building is built. Hillcrest Addition subdivision at 3927 Spring Hill Road, preliminary plat. Tim Lemons requesting preliminary plat approval. Marketplace 2 subdivision, lot 17R and 18R site plans. Mark Ferguson requesting a site plan approval for lot 17R and 18R, which was approved contingent upon planning items being met. Hawkins Valley, Phase 1 preliminary plat. Garnett Engineering requesting preliminary plat approval for minor grading. Approval was given for the developer to begin moving dirt to figure out the grades for the proposed streets. Developer to meet with city to discuss the proposed roads on the master transportation plan. Window World of Little Rock, 511 Boone Road, seeking a sign permit. Zach Black requesting sign permit approval. Staff approved that. They also approved Willow and Grace Boutique, 307 Progress Way, Suite 700 and 800. L Graphics seeking that sign permit approval. And Bryant Mail and Print Center at 5313 Highway 5, Suite 305, seeking a sign permit. L Graphics requesting that, and it was staff approved.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question about item number 8. I believe that was approved by staff. And the consolidation, was that just such a small lot that it didn't require council or
Yeah,
commission?
that level, I think he was already zoned commercial, and so he wasn't changing zoning, the requirements on that, so it did not require any approval to come back from this board.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate that.
Under 2 acres and 10,000.
That's correct. I was wondering what the threshold was.
Any other questions? All right, we do have a public hearing on 13, 104 Ridge Street, conditional use permit. Stephen Wise requesting approval for a CUP for accessory structure that exceeds 25% of the square feet of the primary structure. I'm going to let Mr. Taylor tell us what's going on.
Yes, sir. This is actually just what I would consider a light barn structure. It's open on the sides. It's intended to store his vehicle and his boat in. This is within the heart of Bryant. It is part of the Main Street mixed-use area that allows some sort of transition from residential to a commercial with intentions of being kind of friendly towards people that park in those kind of areas around there. It is an increase in size. The structure is already there, but we don't foresee it as being a continuous permanent structure that may not be there in the future. It's purely intent of the property owner on how he wants to use it.
And as I recall, DRC recommended approval of that.
That is correct.
Okay. We'll have the applicant, Mr. Wise, if he's in, if you don't mind approaching the podium. And we'll, commissioners can ask questions. We'll allow any public comments to happen. You'll have the opportunity to rebut any public comments, and then we can call for a vote.
Right.
Any questions of Mr. Wise?
Have you heard from any of your neighbors around you about this?
Concerning, no. Nothing at all. Nothing. Other than stuff we discussed at the previous meeting, in which, I did not understand, that I needed a permit for something that my neighbors already had. So that was the only thing, that's the only thing that we were talking about, so.
I think you received a letter on something that was on one of your neighbors.
That's correct, I received a violation of something that wasn't on my property, that's true, yes. And that's what the discussion was about.
So I'm gonna ask staff a question.
Okay.
So what are the numbers? What's the allowed? What's his actual square footage?
I think it's in your agenda packet, item number 13.
All right, maybe I didn't look deep enough, sorry.
At the very bottom, it's
348, okay, 720, okay. Thank you.
yes, sir.
For clarification, it's a 30-foot awning, I have a 30-foot camper, and so it's designed to cover the camper that I had that I've replaced because of the building falling on my previous camper. So I'm trying to protect my investment here.
Yeah.
Add in the boat.
Is it a tube and steel?
Yes, it's professionally installed, put in by a installer out of Mayflower. Paid extra money to have it upgraded, have it color coordinated and all that kind of stuff, and have it set back to where it's aligned with my garage, so it looks, like it belongs there.
I've driven by several times. It's green, kind of green top, and it kind of blends in. You can't really see. He sits so far below the bridge in Reynolds, you really can't see it from Reynolds unless you're purposely going down to that area. But it looked nice. It wasn't.
Any other questions of any commissioners? All right, if you don't mind having a seat, Mr. Wise. Any public comment? Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against? It is a public hearing for conditional use permit. One more ask. Okay, we have no public comments, no reason for rebuttal. Any other commissioner questions of staff or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Edwards,
Yes.
Speed,
Yes.
Staton,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Hooten,
Yes.
Penfield.
Yes. Okay, passed. Thank you, sir. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Since we're back in our normal meeting, I think I missed approving the minutes.
That's a no-go. That's a
Real quick on that, we'll be doing it next month.
no-go.
You did have minutes in your packet from 10/14 of 24. Any discussion, corrections, changes? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll get into we have our old business, into the new business piece of our meeting. And I would ask if I could get a motion to move Tim Lemons from number 18 up to number 14 position in should be number 1 in our new business for a conflict reason.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to set aside the rules and move him up. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Lemons, on the dance floor. Hillcrest Addition subdivision, 3927 Spring Hill Road, a preliminary plat. Been to DRC several times, been here a few times. Thanks for being back with us.
I think we finally got it where everybody's happy, and hopefully it'll be a benefit to them and everything. I know they have some issues down south of us, so I think between Kelly and I, scratching our heads, and we finally came up with what I think is a good plan that will make some really good benefit to everybody. And I appreciate y'all moving me up. It's the way it is, some nights I don't have any planning commission meetings, and some nights I have 2 or 3, so I appreciate it.
I didn't know if Ted had any initial comments or,
Yeah, I think the most initially here is, this is the neighborhood just north of Hurricane Creek, which has some drainage issues. We've kind of exhausted this one as far as the drainage that comes off of this side that goes onto the other side, which Mr. Lemons and Mr. Van Landingham have worked those details out. It actually will improve drainage on that neighborhood quite a bit. So that's why I think the staff is carried through to approve it.
talk to us, Mr.
To go along with what has been said, there's approximately 15 acres that drains directly into the back of the houses on Hurricane Gardens. When we get done, it's going to be basically zero. One little bit falls right against the property line. Our street that we're putting in along the north boundary is going to catch the bulk of the property to the north, well, catch all the property to the north, and then we're also constructing a swale on our south boundary that will catch what water falls in the yards and take it to either detention or out to Spring Hill Road. So glad we're able to come up with something that will work.
Is that one large swell or?
It's a swell that goes continuously, but it's only draining the backyards of those lots, so it's not a big area. But Kelly brought up a good point. He said, hey, if we can catch most of it, great. If we can catch all of it, it's even better. So we added the swell to the back.
And just for summary, I mean, we remained R2
Yes, sir.
and all the lots conform. There's 13 lots that all conform with the R2, no variances.
No variances.
And the curb cut is the same standard curb cut for the city?
For the,
The height of the curb?
yeah, are you referring to on Spring Hill or at the individual?
No, on his road on the north end, he's saying he's gonna catch a lot of water coming down the hill.
Mhm.
And some of our curbs are only 2 or 3 inches tall.
Well, keep in mind that the water we're catching is going to be from the center line of the road back to the north, so you got a 6-inch rise there from the gutter to the
Good
center
point,
line.
good point. But it is a standard curb and gutter.
Yeah, it's standard curb and gutter. Now, he has increased the size, the actual culverts are in there because he has built-in detention as far as those culvert sizes.
Okay, I like hearing that.
I'd also refer to on item 18, there is a little bit of variance on, I believe, the length of the cul-de-sac. That's because there is no continuing road that's going to go through into the Hurricane Lake subdivision to the west.
And there's no sidewalk either on that.
So yes, I'm sorry, I'm glad y'all brought that up, I forgot about that letter, but yes. The first waiver is due to the fact that everything on all 4 sides is already developed, there's no place to tie anything in. And yes, since we're only going to have one row of houses, we would like to put the sidewalk on the south side of the road. I don't believe a sidewalk on the north side of the road would benefit anyone.
We allowed the subdivision on Spring Hill the same.
That's correct.
And,
Down by the storage buildings?
yes, sir. And I'm
Looks good.
pretty sure in DRC, fire chief approved the length of the cul-de-sac.
He did.
And there's just 13 lots.
I definitely think those are true hardships, so I'm for it.
Appreciate it.
Just to understand, so the water will be flowing towards Spring Hill Road instead of back towards the cul-de-sac?
Actually, we're splitting it. Most of it's going to go back towards the cul-de-sac where we have our detention. And there's already an existing low spot that catches all the water.
Right, I knew that, yeah.
And then a little bit of it's coming back out to Spring Hill Road,
Okay.
but we check the culvert sizes and capacity.
I mean, that's on a hill there on Spring Hill. I'm not really concerned about like any flooding there. I was curious where the water was gonna go. You know, for the people below it, I didn't want them to, you know.
That's been the problem, is the water coming out.
Right, no, absolutely, absolutely.
So it's gonna take care of that water then, should, as it's planned.
Yeah, I think it will help the neighbors below them, honestly.
That's the plan.
All right, any other questions, Mr. Lemon?
Thank you for doing that.
No problem, thank you.
The back
Glad we were able to
I
help.
really appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Kelly.
Any feedback from the neighbors to the south?
Haven't heard anything.
I've had a few that have contacted me that they didn't want to be vocal, but think it's going to help with development.
I had one that was, that it helps, if we can show that it helps, because they need something. And this is the best bet to get it fixed.
Yeah. Okay, any other
Thank you.
questions? We'll have a roll call vote would be to approve a preliminary plat that comes recommended by DRC with the, correct me if there's more, but the two variances, one for the length of the cul-de-sac, which the fire chief has recommended, and then one for the sidewalk only being on one side of the street that has, not the one that has no lots.
Right.
Okay? Everybody understand? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Staton,
Yes.
Speed,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Hooten,
Yes.
Canfield.
Yes.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'll stay police and catch me, I can make my next one.
So he has to go to
Good
the
luck.
council for the sidewalk waiver, right?
It'll have to go, no,
We're technically putting a sidewalk on one
we're
side.
putting on the side of the
Yeah.
streets.
Okay, it was phrased as a waiver, so I just,
I was going to look.
what procedure is?
It's gonna go on the side.
Okay, I mean, I just thought he might want to know if
That's
he.
a good question.
We'll check into it.
That's a Colton question, but I don't think it is.
Who is Colton? Who is Colton when you need him?
Yeah, did a deer.
All right.
I'm sitting there.
Where's your priorities?
We're gonna move back up to our item 14 of our new business, Bryant Seminary Highway 5 site plan.
Can't get any good help
Mr.
anymore.
Taylor, you have a summary or comments to?
Yeah, I believe that's item number 14 in your packet.
Thanks for numbering these now.
What do you think, Colton?
Well, he's not here.
I'll tell you.
So, this is the seminary that's going into the area between Midland and Kings Crossing or Henry Drive. It is in a C2 area. This is going to be part of the multi-phase portion. The streets are private. And this is the current layout that you have there. And I believe Mr. Lewis is here to talk about it. Isn't that big? And if you guys have got any particular questions for staff at this time, I'd be willing to take them, but I think I'd like for Mr. Lewis to go ahead and proceed.
Philip, come on.
How are y'all this evening?
We're good.
Good. Well, what you see is what you get. It's pretty straightforward. By right, I think, to what we're doing. We replatted it once to break that up into multiple lots. And there are other buildings we're planning for the additional spots. But it's a pretty extensive site work project in the sense a lot of cut and a lot of fill to make it work. But we got all that worked out, and there's not, stormwater detention was not required in this area because we're unloading into the floodway, so that's why you probably don't see any detention on there, which we know that's the low area that runs down the Midland Road. We use lift stations down the lower northeast corner of the property. But anyway, it's pretty straightforward. We had to take into consideration the widening of Highway 5. We've coordinated as best we could what we know about it currently. Their most current plans that we got a hold of, but got an entrance off of Henry Avenue there, and then of course the entrance off Highway 5. So pretty straightforward. It's a relocation of the seminary that's existing now out on further down Highway 5. You are familiar with that. So they're in the process of selling their properties off and moving out to a more updated facility, and had a gracious benefactor helping them. So exciting project. It's going to be a nice, very nice looking building for that area, and so they're excited to get started. So anyway.
I would also add that as part of this project, they deeded over some property adjacent
That's
to
correct.
our lift station.
Yes.
It's going to help the Public Works Department install a new gravity main to that lift station that's going to greatly aid not just this property, but all property through the west that feeds into that trunk line.
That's a good.
Nice.
point.
Good deal.
I forgot that. Yeah, they were willing to do whatever they
It
needed
hasn't
to
been
do.
deeded yet, but it's in the process.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Yeah,
And they've agreed to it.
that commitment's been made though, early on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty straightforward, and as he mentioned, the internal stuff will all be private. They don't have any intention of dedicating it to the city in the future, so they'll maintain.
It's a beautiful piece of property.
Yes, sir, I'm glad what's gonna go there is going there. It's gonna be
Nice
really
piece of
nice.
property.
I think the idea of all what's gonna go out there is gonna be, to help out the community-oriented, entities. So it's gonna be a great addition to the city there. Maybe not a huge revenue generator, but it will be nice.
I was told that there'd be up to 200 students accommodated there.
That's what they're saying, yes, sir. And, well, they will, and they're gonna have a library. I don't know how that works, but of course, their library, it's gonna be a super nice library in there, and I don't know if it's open to the public. Folks can come in and research how that works. They've discussed that. I've been in meetings with the seminary folks, but anyway, I'm sure that'll all be made knowledge whenever it's finished. But anyway, is there any questions any of y'all have about it?
Just some comments. I know early on, and it's a large-scale project. The capacity for sewer is there, and the capacity, the water capacity
Yes,
is there.
that is correct.
And it was drawn with no variances or no
Yes,
setback
sir.
variance.
It was all by
Everything
right. We
conformed.
didn't have to ask for anything, and that is correct.
I noticed the sidewalk on, I think it's Henry.
Yes.
Is it, on the plan, it looked like it didn't go all the way? Is that because of the RDOT? We don't know.
We held back, that's a part where they're showing to come back and do whatever they're gonna do. Same with Midland, y'all probably seen the
Yeah.
plans. I think the plan is to square up Midland and do quite a bit of work off of 5. But yeah, that's exactly why, yes ma'am, yeah. So anyway, that is correct. But we are tied to the one in Kings Crossing there, so.
Yeah, there was a gap, wasn't there a gap or something?
There was.
And y'all are going on to the,
We are.
You're gonna connect it even though it's not your property.
Yes, correct, that is correct.
so they're gonna extend onto the Kings Crossing property.
Yeah, and it'll be a nice walkable area internal to that. Most people probably aren't gonna wanna go up and cruise down Highway 5 there and try to get clipped off so you can walk internally. Kings Crossing there all the way back to elementary.
Yeah, that's good.
I did look on their plan, RDOT's plans today, and they do show building those sidewalks all the way
On down to
on
Kings.
down to the extent of their right of way.
Okay.
And then also just for reference too, on the north side of Highway 5, we'll have a 10-foot trail on it too, that this will tie
Oh,
to.
okay. So you can go on that, go across.
Nice.
Oh, on that side.
That RDOT building.
They're building, RDOT's building that.
Okay. Cool.
So 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad Jonathan's sitting in the front row so I can pick on him. Your Highway 5 entrance isn't too far from Midland, and across from Midland, we're gonna have another large development tie-in there. I can't remember the details of that. So I guess from a city standpoint, I mean, that's a lot of turns in a short amount of road. Do we have any concerns with that?
One point to include on that is part of RDOT's design will be a traffic light at Midland,
Really?
which they will build also.
Yeah, their new design
We
has
got traffic
that.
light there.
Also, the curb cut was already there and it's already
Timing right,
permitted
because
through.
it's just gonna cause more of a
They
nightmare.
won't allow any more
Go ahead,
on
Parkway
that
does.
track.
So there's a curb cut there already?
There's
So there's a gate,
a,
but is that a curb cut?
it's in their design, it is an access point off of Putnam.
Okay, but still from a traffic, there's
And
not too many entrances and too short a distances.
And it was a midpoint between Midland and Henry.
Henry.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
and
think that's it right there.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have on your drive coming in, you can do a left or right, or just, how do you have the traffic coming out of the
It's
seminary?
wide enough that you can do a left, it's all directions out of there. So you can left out, right out.
When RDOT does their thing, there'll be a turn lane in there anyway too.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
I just think about people wanting to turn left or right, would they be stacked up, or if they got lanes for it, that's fine, that's great.
Yeah, and I will say this, just to clarify the number of students, the majority of them are online. So I think they only have in person, I can't remember the number, it's nowhere near the number you were quoting earlier. So they don't anticipate a lot of in-person because they have folks, I guess, from all over the country that do the classes
I think they were saying about 60 on.
in person at the most, yes, sir. So, but to your point, that did come up during discussions of DRC, and that the fact that the light's gonna be at Midland and where it was located, you know, and I'm sure the city's stringent, but we all know RDOT's pretty stringent on getting driveway entrances on
So
property.
my second question was square footage and how many floors?
Single level,
Ballpark.
I'm doing the structural, I should know that.
19,000.
I was gonna say 20,000, yeah.
Okay, so
So,
it's sizable. Okay.
yes, sir.
And then another, about your first question too, if you recall the original plat, I don't think it shows it all. The street, the private street network comes out at the rear of this property in
Yes.
Midland.
It'll
So
be connected.
It'll have an exit point to a road that has a light.
Well, and also, we all know, you can also go back through Henry Avenue and tie back in, come out the light by Circle K.
Yeah.
So, they have options,
That's
you know.
Good deal.
But just, but that's a valid thought. And if it was 200, that might be a little different every day.
But there'll be 5 lanes, right? And when RDOT comes in,
Yeah.
there'll be. That's what I was thinking about. It won't be as bad.
Only when the bell rings
Oh, yes.
to go home.
Everybody's out of there.
Sorry, Jonathan, I didn't get to pick on you after.
Oh, I'm used to it.
All right.
Yeah, I
Any
said it's
other
legislative.
questions?
Thank you for coming and doing this for Brack.
Yes. It'll be a great addition to the city, so.
Okay, we appreciate it.
All right.
Any other questions for staff? We'll have a roll call vote on the site plan approval for the seminary.
Burgess,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Stack,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Speed,
Yes.
Hooten.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, passed. Item 15 on our agenda, Glen Hills Estates, replat lot 6, Hope Consulting requesting approval to replat. Mr. Taylor.
All right, this is actually in our planning jurisdiction. Just a moment while I pull it up. And I believe this person is just trying to plat out a lot to build a structure on. And this has been through the county, and it has received their comments. They've mostly been just concerned about easements associated with the power line. Since we're not a power utility company, we don't normally get involved with the utility easements of the power line. They have made allowances for future easement connections for whatever utility that may be, as far as water lines or sewers, if they ever come to this area. This is strictly just a matter of a lot plot out. And I believe Mr. Hope is here to discuss that if need be.
John.
Sure.
Okay, could you go back to the map?
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to get an idea where it's at relating
So this
to the
is,
subdivision.
yeah, this is Dawson's Point over here. And this is Lombard right here.
Yeah, go down to where Lombard is. Okay, I got
And
it.
there's Hilltop right there.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so yes, we are splitting this property. I think it's about 8.5 acres. They've got the septic approval for the new structure. I think one of the comments from the county was about there's an electrical pole right in the middle of the proposed lot that we're splitting off. That's about 1 acre. And I think they asked for clarification on that. We're proposing to move that service pole. There's a shop here that you can see just south of that driveway to the right on the big parcel. That shop is being serviced by the power pole in the middle of the smaller parcel. So there was a comment about, we need to put this power pole in an easement. But actually the power pole is going to go away. That's going to be moved up to the north side of the proposed lot. And then there's an easement there to get the electric to the shop of the existing property owner that's splitting this off. So we have that worked out with Randy Jones at First Electric. And I think that was the only unusual little item on it.
Questions, Mr. Hope? have a roll call vote.
Irwin,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Speed,
Yes.
Stanton,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Hoover,
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes. All right, you went away, Jonathan, you're still here. Item 16, Midtown Phase 3, final plat, Hope Consulting requesting final plat approval. Mr. Taylor,
Yeah, we received all this, the entire Public Works Department has been out there as well as planning, as far as reviewing everything that's been installed. It is ready. The last remaining items were warranty bonds for the water, sewer, and streets, and Jonathan issued those today. So it has met everything required for the final plat on it. So I believe we're ready to recommend that it is approved for for selling the lots. Jonathan, would you like to add anything?
That'd be great. I know you guys are wanting to get home. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I had a question on the lots 11 through 14. It's a front access from Court Street. I know this won't be rehashing stuff from a long time ago. I'm just curious about that, because I thought Midland, but aren't those lots pinned in by neighborhoods back, and that's why?
And which one are you asking? I'm sorry.
11 through 14, I think I saw that in some fine print.
Okay, so the block 19 and 17, which are
It's those bigger lots.
these two, this is 19 and 17, are you talking about these?
It's 11 through 14 is what it said, over here on that.
Oh, I'm sorry, here,
side.
right? Okay, so those, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, there was multiple 11s on that plat, I think, so that was throwing me off. Okay, so right now, the shaded area to the south, on the right-hand side of the plat, the existing road is ending right there. Those lots will be just a traditional front load, and there's nothing on the back. And I believe if you pull up that aerial, oh, sorry,
No, I
beat you to it.
Isn't it different ownership?
Yes,
behind that area?
absolutely.
No.
So I think it's actually the,
I think in the Midtown document, didn't it allow you to do that in those areas?
yes, and that's to the north and east is the detention facility, I believe, property.
Okay, I see that, yeah.
So
I was just curious, I thought it was all, you had to have entrance in the back, so.
that
How
was
big are those lots, Jonathan? Are they pretty good size?
I think they're like 10,000 on those four are pretty big.
So they may have sidewalk growth or something.
Yeah.
May be obvious, I'll ask. These parcels don't impact any future road further to the west?
No, it will have a connection to the west later.
Okay. But it's not in this plat, so.
Correct. Right, so the Fountain Street, which is right beside the restaurant that have gone in a few times and have not worked, that Fountain Street will go north and connect.
Okay, I just didn't know which one of those two streets it was. Okay, cool.
Anything else? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote.
Edwards,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Stanton,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Speed,
Yes.
Hoover, Gibson.
Yes. All right, passed. Item 17, Cornerstone Montessori Christian Academy, 4910 Spring Hill Road, a waiver. Hope Consulting is requesting approval for a waiver on half-street improvements until the permanent building is built.
So this is to clean up a little bit of a gap. I think they had actually came through DRC requesting this, but it had never made it as a recommendation to come to the commission for approval, for a waiver of that. As we know that the street, or the half-street improvements can be waived here, but any kind of sidewalk or trail has to go to a council. This is not seen as a permanent waiver, it's seen as a temporary waiver until they build the final structure, which by act of what we approved is they can only be in this facility. It's a temporary school facility for 3 years, in which case they will have to build a permanent structure. And at that time, those half-street improvements and trail will be added at that time.
Jonathan, any other comments?
That'd be great.
Any questions of Jonathan?
Can we make the language the same as the 3-year temporary school instead of,
Let's see.
There's an agreement in place at DRC between the school and the city. So, I mean, our vote will make it clear that the vote is temporary for the 3-year period. Is that what you're asking?
yeah,
There's actually
that's future building, I mean, that's like two different standards, right, in language.
There is an additional letter that, it's on city letterhead, not mine, detailing the temporary occupancy permit and the 3-year waiver that was going to be requested. So there is an additional PDF that probably goes into further detail.
There is, we have it, we do have it on file.
So if they came back to renew that temporary and didn't build a new building, then we could have them do this half-street.
Yes, sir.
We could enforce it at that point.
You either enforce it or extend it.
Yeah. Or they would have to just
But they would
completely
come back,
ban.
yeah.
So the feedback I'm getting is that eventually we need to redo Spring Hill. What happens if we redo it before then?
Well, we would build, they did deed over the right-of-way as part of this, so we would have the right-of-way to do it, and we would widen the street as well as build that trail portion as well, too.
So who would get to pay for that half street?
Well, I mean, that would have to occur within 3 years. I don't think there's a likelihood that we would do it within 3 years. It'd be wonderful if we could.
Yeah, a lot of people would love it.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
All right. Any other questions?
Another big subdivision going in there.
Okay, roll call vote.
Staton,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Speed.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Everything. Yes.
Thank you all.
For 3 tonight.
You gotta quit that.
Chairman, I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but going back to Hopkins Valley, as we did review that again in the DRC this morning and reviewed the conceptual plan.
Yes, sir, we need to add that item to the agenda.
I think we could, I mean, I don't know, that's up to you.
I'd ask to set aside the rules and add if you look at our DRC report, it would be number 9. We're going to set aside the rules and ask for a motion to place it at the bottom of our agenda to number 19. Is there anybody that
So
would make?
the motion is to set aside the rules and amend the agenda.
Yes, sir, add the Hawkins for some discussion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So it has been added. I'm going to let Mr. Taylor kind of bring us up to speed of what happened in DRC today with this and ask for a...
So backing up, last week, the developer, along with his engineer, requested that the city staff review this, and this is basically coming up with a plan to meet the master transportation plan for this subdivision, in which case we show a collector traversing this, as well as, let me pull the trail plan up here. This trail currently was to approximate following our sewer line, and which is actually part of Owen Creek. Pull that up. And this is the creek, Owen Creek, and this had a connection that would go up and connect to Pamela Way as well as over to Spring Hill. And this is not the development, but one that is south of it, that the collector would go through and connect to Hilldale. We worked with them as far as routing it like this, is this would be Hilldale, and running the collector back through here, and he's making this connection to Spring Hill. This would come through the property through the south, once that, if that ever develops, and extend as a collector onto Hilldale, which would be part of its requirement. His trail would follow, continue to follow the creek and make its connection up to Pamela Way eventually, as part of the development, and would also follow the sewer line. And as part of their current design is they would also install that section of the sewer line. So initially, staff looked at it, found it acceptable, and then it was brought to DRC today for their approval, and it received approval at that stage.
So the next step that actually, correct me if I'm wrong, we'd have to amend or modify the master street plan to match this new route.
Well, I think it meets all the requirements of what the master street plan is saying. One would argue that whether or not the trail is connecting over Spring Hill versus all the way up to Pamela Way would meet the same amounts. It would follow a better course as far as the sewer line and creek, as opposed to dissecting another development.
So we're just taking that broad brush stroke and just
That's
more or
correct.
less saying where it's going to be.
Mhm.
Point A and point B is the same.
Point A and point B is the same.
Ted, would they build out the trail and everything?
They
It'd be
would
complete
build it. And
once
also-
they get that phase.
Yeah, they would build this portion.
All the
I
way.
speak for the developer, he is here currently, but he is going to be building an extension of the sewer line in that area, so he would build that portion of the trail, is that correct?
That's correct. So really we're asking today for an approval, or they're asking the developer for an approval of this location.
Mm-hmm.
More or less, I'd say exact, but this location on their plat of the collector and the sewer line.
And as part of the DRC process, we
Right.
approved basically the design of the collector that they would build with the sections matching this location and the sidewalks around it, as well as what the trail would be on it too.
Ted, this is outside the city limits, correct?
It is within our planning area.
It's not adjacent to the city limits, correct?
It is.
It's not
it
this
is-
time.
It is just one parcel, or one particular piece of property away from city limits. So
So pre-annexation agreement.
there will be a pre-annexation agreement with this property, yes.
Good question.
And once that property in between becomes annexed, then that would automatically annex it.
Yes, and then also, and bordering its property to the north is also another area that's got a pre-annexation agreement. It's Grace Village. That one would also come in too at the same time.
So what size they plan on these lots being?
I believe he's got them set up as R1S, with 60 by 100.
6,000.
Roughly, yeah, 6,000
And
square.
about 200 and something lots, roughly.
Yeah,
A little over
I think
200.
there is a phase one, which is about 33? 33 initially.
So the trail would be going up to Pamela Way instead of over to Spring Hill, am I interpreting that right?
That's the way he's got it now.
And is there a planned trail on Pamela Way or a way to get back to Spring Hill?
Not currently.
Pamela Way's already developed.
Spring Hill will have a trail there eventually, on this side, that same side, correct?
Well, that was the ask in this particular layout, because it would continue on. Of course, there's other potentials for it to, once anything develops north of it, is to bring it back to Spring Hill.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my question.
How does those lots compare to the ones on Midland we're trying to annex in?
They're comparable, they're the same 6,000 square foot lots.
What size house does that lot size allow for?
I believe we're allotted for anywhere from 1,400 to 2,000 square feet on those lots.
Because you've had some feedback on annexing that into the city on Midland, right?
That's correct.
Positive or negative?
Both directions.
But the proposed lot size density meets our comprehensive plan.
Yes, within this area, of course, this, once again, this is out in the county, but it fits that
We have a comprehensive plan that dictates the density, which would overlay into zoning,
That's correct.
and it, but tonight you're just asking for, the applicant's asking for a vote on
Yeah.
the location of the collector and the trail.
So is that motion a modification of the master street plan?
I don't think so, because it's already making the point A and point B, it just is not in the exact location as it was drawn on the map. Isn't that correct, Ed?
Yes, sir.
But since they wanted to get an approval of that location, because they're having to do a lot of grading work out here, which they're currently doing, that's the reason they came to DRC today and are asking for this approval.
How many acres is it?
Can you answer how many acres total that you have planned for development?
83.
Okay, where's our boundary at for Bryant?
It is Hilldale.
Okay. So if we eventually widen Spring Hill, it would stop at Hilldale, correct? We wouldn't go, because the city wouldn't,
Well,
we could go
we
up.
would, eventually, looking at the master transportation plan, let me go ahead and pull off.
There's a lot more cars on that.
Isn't Remington in the
You
city?
could go up to.
So it continues on even past this as a minor arterial.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Ted?
Yeah, the Spring Hill, as it shows, it's in purple, will ultimately be built as a minor arterial, and it looks like it changes right at the Baptist church, I believe that's up there. And that's so far outside our planning area, that's why it doesn't reflect on this map. Spring Hill is known as what we call a regional arterial network, that county, Benton, and us foresee that it needs to be built as an arterial. That we all match the same growth plan for Spring Hill.
Any other questions on the location or the change of the road or the
Collector.
concerns or comments?
So the pre-annexation agreement is separate from this motion?
Yes. All they're wanting to do, my understanding,
I understand
is
what they're wanting.
get an approval.
I
so
understand
that
that, but I'm looking at the other thing.
They don't come back. They still have to come in on their preliminary plat.
Yeah.
all their specs.
When would the road be built? When it's,
The collector portion,
yes.
I believe it depends on how it's phased in the development. He's phasing in, I believe, about 34 homes now. Of course, he needs connection to a road, and I believe their connection is, the first connection is going to be Spring Hill Road, is that correct? So these houses would be built first along this stretch, and that would already be built as a collector at that point, from Spring Hill Road over to this curve.
Okay.
But once he reaches so many lots, he'll have to have a secondary entry access.
That's probably why at 33 lots, he'll require a secondary entry.
Call the vote.
Okay, so we'll call for a vote of yes would grant approval of the locations of the collector road and the trail. No would not. Keeping in mind they still have to come in with all preliminary plat approvals, pre-annexation agreement, sewer and water specs, everything involving a subdivision.
And they still have to go through the county's approval as well.
Okay, call for the vote.
Speed,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Staton.
Yes.
Hooton.
Yes.
Canfield.
Yes. Okay. I think there are no other items on our agenda. I have one comment to the mayor. Nothing against Mr. Taylor, but do not let Colton leave.
Right.
Depend on him tomorrow. He does a great job.
I'll second that.
Well, I will entertain another motion.
I've moved to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, aye.